I don't know if this will help you ask more questions, but I used to come down here all the time in the 80s.
Oh,
I
okay.
played a ton with Peter Sprague and Bob Magnuson.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I
People
have,
like
I have a couple San Diego connection
Alright.
questions in there too.
All right, so whenever you're ready, hold on, let me, okay, whenever you're ready.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, you ready, Michael?
Yeah.
We're here at Jazz Live San Diego with Billy Mintz. Congratulations on your new Mintz Quartet disc and opening your West Coast tour here in San Diego, Billy.
Thank you very much.
Before we get started, Billy, we wanted to remind our listeners that their opportunity to support programs like Jazz Live and all the other ways that Jazz 88 promotes jazz music is right now. We're asking listeners to become contributors and play it forward during our fall membership campaign with a contribution on our secure website at jazz88.org or by calling right now 619-388-3000, and we hope that all of you out there will spread the word on that. So Billy, again, welcome to San Diego, and tell us about the band that you've got playing with you tonight.
Okay, on tenor saxophone is John Gross. I've been playing with John on and off for about 30 years. I met him in LA when I moved to LA in 1980. And Putter Smith is playing bass tonight. And I've also been playing with Putter on and off for like maybe 25 years. And I played mostly with Putter in a trio in LA with Alan Broadbent. And Joey Sellers is a great trombone player and maybe the best jazz orchestrator that I think around. And I started playing with Joey. Joey has an 11-piece band, and when he moved from Phoenix in 1990, he put together an 11-piece band in LA, and I joined his band. I was playing with him back then. And Roberta Pickett is a great piano player from New York, and I've been playing on and off with her, mostly in her trio. She puts together some great trios with great bass players for like maybe the last 10 years.
So, Billy, you've got a brand new disc out now called the Mintz Quartet, and the players that you have tonight, minus Sellers on trombone, actually play on that disc, correct?
That's correct.
And this is, looking through your long career, as you were just kind of mentioning, this is your first time debuting a CD as a leader, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
So that's almost 35 years after your first recording with Lee Konitz. I was kind of doing a little bit of math, and that's a really long ramp-up time to get to your own CD as a leader. Why was this the time to put out this new disc?
Well, it almost didn't even happen because John now lives in Portland, Oregon, and Putter Smith, he still lives in Pasadena. Putter started coming out to New York every few months because he wanted to. He's always wanted to come to New York and be part of the New York scene. So coincidentally, John was taking a vacation in New York, and so we were all together in the same spot. This was last January. So I put together a few gigs, and right at the very last minute, we went into a recording studio and did this music. And
as I was looking, this is all your original compositions also on this disc, and that seems to be that and band leading is a kind of a relatively recent direction for you, in the last 10 years or so. Were the tunes for this disc written specifically for this group, or
no? These tunes I've been writing. A tune will come to me every 3 years or every 2 years or something like that. So these tunes spread out over the last maybe 20 years. And I started doing some band leader stuff in Los Angeles when I used to live there around 1990. I had like a 9-piece band.
Right.
Yeah.
But never had a chance to record with that band.
Well, actually, we recorded with that band, the LA 9-piece band, when I used to live there maybe about 15 years ago. Bruce Fowler, a great trombone player, a lot of people know, because he used to play with Frank Zappa, etc. He has a great recording studio in his house, and so we would go there every couple of months and stay there for about 6 hours and record a bunch of 9-piece music. It was mostly my tunes, but some of the other members contributed.
Well, is composition something that you're exploring more recently, or is it really kind of that same schedule, or kind of things come around and then you write and then you're not writing for a while?
That's kind of the way it is with me. You know, I hate to say it, but I'm very fortunate and lucky. You know, because some of these tunes, they'll kind of just come. I'm not like Duke Ellington. Wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and start writing music every day. You know, I'm not like that. You know, I'm just, a tune will come. I'll hear something in my head. I'll go to the piano and mess around with it. You know, and that's kind of how these things come about.
Well, in some of the reviews and in listening to the disc, which we're playing here at Jazz 88, there's seems to be a wide range of textures and composition types and styles on this disc. Do you specifically search out this, or it kind of seems that maybe it's not that way?
It's the same thing. I don't search it out. I don't really intend anything. You know, occasionally I might say, I think I'm going to try to write something really beautiful and, you know, slow. You know,
Right.
You know, but so it's, I don't really, you know, just kind of comes with it.
Well, then I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of how you grew up and listened to music. You grew up in New York, I take it, and that's a really good place to grow up if you're a jazz musician. How did you first get into music?
My parents, they weren't musicians, so it's, I don't know, you know, it's just one of those things where when I was 4 or 5 years old, I got this thing in my head that I wanted to play the drums. So, yeah, I wasn't influenced by anything, no family, none of that, you know, and I just got into it by myself, you know.
And drums were your first instrument?
And it still is. I mean, I don't really play piano, but I sit down to work out, to, you know, to compose. You know, I use the piano as a tool to compose.
So strictly a drummer on that.
Yeah.
So you grew up in New York, and you probably played some of your first professional gigs there in New York.
Yeah. That's basically, and unfortunately, I grew up in the tail end of an era of where a musician could make a really good living doing many different kinds of work, and over the course of the last maybe 50 years, because of I guess, I don't know, technology and everything, there's less opportunity for musicians to play in a show band or a big band or stuff like that. You know, it keeps dwindling down.
So you moved to Los Angeles at some point there, and what was that kind of a move about, especially if you were playing jazz music, because New York is and kind of was always the hotbed of
And still
jazz,
is, actually. I live in New York now.
Right.
And it's in fact, it's better than ever there. There's so many creative, great musicians there. In 1980, a friend of mine, I'm going to mention his name, some people may know who he is. His name is Mike Garson. He still plays piano with Dave Bowie. Anyway, him and I are oldest friends, and we played music our whole lives when we were kids. Mike moved out to Los Angeles in 1978 to play with Stanley Clarke, so he relocated out there. So I got a call one day in 1980. He asked me if I would come out for a few months and do a bunch of gigs with him. So I did that a few times, and then after the third time, I just decided to stay out in L.A., and I was there for like 20 years.
Yeah, you spent an extended time here in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and one of the things, as I was noticing about that period, is there's some San Diego connections too. During that period, you were one of the original members of Roadwork Ahead with Bill Mays and Peter Sprague and Bob Magnuson.
Well, Jim Plank was the drummer. And I think because he, at the time, I don't know if Jim still plays in the symphony here. Oh, he does?
He does.
So he probably couldn't do some gigs. And when I moved to Los Angeles, Mike Garson was playing with Magnuson. Magnuson was living in L.A. at the time. And so I started playing with Magnuson, and because Magnuson was playing with everybody there, I got an opportunity to play with a lot of great players in Los Angeles, but also Bob introduced me to Peter Sprague and some of the guys down here. You know, so I was very fortunate to come down here quite a lot during the 80s and play with some of the people down here.
Well, maybe that's where we were talking a little bit before about how you look familiar to me, and we somehow
Oh.
met. And maybe it was during some of that time when you were here. Then I was here in San Diego also, and hearing some of that music. So maybe
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
you also, I saw a connection with with the Hutchins Consort String Chamber Orchestra in San Diego, and was that some work that you did in that setting?
Yes, one of my good friends in Los Angeles now, he's a young guitar player, Tom McNally. His uncle is Joe McNally, who runs the
Oh, that's the consort.
Yeah, the consort.
The Hutchins Consort String Chamber.
Yeah, so Joe asked me to come down and do something with them a couple of years in a row. Well, the first year I wrote some of my tunes that you heard tonight. I re-orchestrated them for his group, which is 8 string players. And then the second year I came down with John Gross. We played with the consort also. And that's my connection with Joe McNally and the consort.
Well, we're reminding people we're listening and chatting with Billy Mintz here. He's with a quintet tonight at Jazz Live San Diego. Jazz education is one of the big missions of Jazz 88 and supports our mission to present and promote music. You've done a lot of educational work during your career. How has being involved in jazz education helped you and others in jazz?
Well, quite honestly, I really, I don't know about the information you have on the piece of paper, but I really haven't done hardly any kind of jazz education.
Well,
occasionally, I'll if I'm on the road, someone will catch wind that I'm in town. They'll ask me to do a master class or a clinic, but that doesn't happen often at all, you know. And the only thing that I would say I'm kind of connected to a jazz education aspect is that many years ago, 1975, a publishing company asked me to write a drum book for them. So I put together this book of basically drum transcriptions that I did when I was working on that particular aspect of becoming a better drummer. And that, you know, I didn't plan it or any of that stuff, but it turned out to be like one of the #1 drum books out there. You know, even though it's been out of print for like 30 years, I still get emails all the time asking about the book.
Well, as we're kind of circling back then to your new Mintz Quartet disc, you're here in San Diego to kind of kick off a little bit of a West Coast tour. Tell folks where you're going to be playing here on this tour.
Okay. Well, yeah, tonight's the first night of, I mean, it's not an extensive tour, but, you know, these days, for a band to go out on the road and to get like 4 or 5 gigs or 2 weeks it's really good. In the old days, of course, a band would go out for like 6 months, you know, back in the 30s or 40s. So this is a great opportunity to play the same music every night with the same great players and see where it develops. So tonight's we're here, and tomorrow night we're at Saddleback College. Thursday night we're at the Blue Whale in Los Angeles, and Friday night we're playing at the Piano Kitchen in Santa Barbara, and Saturday night we're playing at Alva's Showroom in San Pedro. And Sunday we're going to go into a little recording studio in Los Angeles and play some of these same tunes and some of the new ones, and with the addition of Joey Sellers on trombone.
Well, Billy, where can folks find out more about you and your music? Do you have a website, or do you do some of the social media that folks are doing now?
No, I don't do any of that. I have a website, but I'm kind of lackadaisical about it, so it's never really updated, you know.
And as a musician, kind of in this era where that seems to be a big way to promote yourself and to market yourself, which seems like independent musicians need to do. Do you find that you get questions about that all the time, or
Questions about what?
about your website and about using it and keeping it up to date, or is that just not something that's necessary for you right now?
Well, I know it's a necessary thing for everyone. And everybody has a website, and Roberta put a website together for me like maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Right.
But no one really ever asks me about my website or goes to it.
Well,
or any of that kind of stuff.
Well, that's why you came here to San Diego, to have someone ask you about your website.
But I want to tell who's ever listening, you should go to the website, not for any information, but the way it looks is amazing, you know. It was, you know, Roberta was kind of messing around with doing websites, and I'd be sitting behind her, and she'd make this drastic mistake on the computer, and I said, "Don't do anything. I love that. I love it." So that's kind of what it looks like.
And can you remind folks what the URL is for the website?
Well, does that mean like www?
Yeah.
That's how computer
That's all
literate
right.
I am. It's www.billymintz.com.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure that we stick a link to that on all the Jazz 88 various sites so people can get to it. Billy, really appreciate you coming here to Jazz Live San Diego, and best of luck with the new disc and in the future.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys having the band down here.
Great. Hey, Billy, while